This exhibition is on view at the San Bernardino County Museum, The Spirit of the Land Through Climate Change. It was inspired from a series of watercolors I've done over the 25 years that I've lived on the Cinchona Mesa in the desert of California, not too far from Palm Springs. Painted from an intuitive point of view, these works are a unique perspective of life and landscape of the desert. These paintings evoke the spirituality and beauty of the local landscape of Cinchona Mesa. Over the years, the works responded to the precarious state of the environment through my personal lens. Most of the paintings were done from an intuitive point of view after my observational moment on site. I came back to the studio after digesting those visual moments and put them in form of studies. I do studies of different plants or studies of animals. The changing patterns of the climate in California and across the planet since the mid-20th century has been largely due to the increasing level of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Much of the energy that comes from our dependence on fossil fuel like natural gas and oil, carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases are released into the air. These greenhouse gases, such as methane, are released during fossil fuel extraction and transportation. Carbon dioxide isn't harmful as a natural level. Matter of fact, trees love it, but too much can act like a layer of a plastic wrap around the earth that lets in heat from the sun but does not let it escape. The atmosphere acts like a greenhouse, which is why these emissions are called greenhouse gases. It changes the way life and the activity of life responds. I want to inspire the viewer to transcend into new dimensions, and regardless of the genre, all of these work is an undercurrent of spirituality. Transferring these items, these focus, these small details to a large 40 by 60 surface, I have to submerge myself. And sometimes one painting takes years to complete because I am looking to evoke an emotional, spiritual sense of place that the land evokes. And I want to capture that, but sometimes it takes not just one sitting or two, but several, and I have to revisit them to realize them. Most of my art practice has been recognized for my ability to capture spiritual realms on canvas in radiant and brilliant essence of Jamaican culture. But it was the fact that my pursuit of expressing spiritual, emotional thoughts and action that drove the genre. Where I live, not too far from Desert Hot Springs and Palm Springs, is a mesa, and that's where my studio is. Over the years of living here, I've named it Cinchona, kind of inspired from Cinchona in the Blue Mountains of Jamaica. But the inspiration of living in the area, the inspiration of living in an area like this, in this kind of location, comes from the presence of hiking trails all over. So I would go hiking and I would digest the flora and fauna. I would meditate and observe in details, very focused. And then I would come back to the studio, do sketches. And then I would back that up with research on Google to find out what the plants and animals that I've seen that day. Over the years, the works responded to the precarious state of the environment through my personal lens. Most of the paintings were done from an intuitive point of view after my observational moment on site. I came back to the studio after digesting those visual moments and put them in form of studies. I do studies of different plants or studies of animals. Some of these watercolors go back to the 80s, and it's been a work in progress in that I love the fact that I've been able to use the size and submerge myself in a medium that gave me a chance to explore all the different facets of working with the water pigment. An observation of the climate patterns changing over the years has been very subtle. My observational point has been to document these changes as I saw them in the medium of watercolors. I want to inspire the viewer to transcend into new dimensions, and regardless of the genre, all of these work is an undercurrent of spirituality. This is an exhibition of mostly large-scale watercolors on board. These paintings, even though they're speaking to the ecological life in the desert, they also evoke a spiritual sense of what the land is. And I try to give that feeling where the land speaks for itself in all the different emotions that I can observe that comes from the time of day, the time of the seasons, and the time of the decade. The dedication to this genre of watercolor, where I use the land to speak in the absence of human form, using the flora and the fauna as the language. It's mostly because of the meditative stance that I've taken. It was the only way to elevate my practice as an artist. These works have been my interlude, secret interlude with this medium and with this genre. Hence, I have not shown them too often. This exhibition has given me a chance to culminate and heighten the importance of my vision. A vision that I had in my early years after graduating art school. The influence of Oriental watercolor painting is very evident in these works. Some are way too detailed, but that's because I'm trying to express an arc of a language that's expressing a very modern concept of climate change and the whole fact that there is change to climate, whereas the Orientals, they always understood climate as a constant. Technology has given us the ability to see the incremental changes. But for the last decades that I've been here on Syncona, I can see the distinct variation decade to decade. The decades of extreme drought to the decade of extreme rains and flooding. The desert being the kind of atmosphere and location that is neutral in the sense that it has a constant climate really helps to discern the differences when they come rolling in. The rainy seasons and the spring that follows with the bloom of the wildflowers is evident of what happened previously that winter with the rains.